Why is it so difficult when something like a job leaves our daily routine?
It's part of our identity. Many times, because we identify with them from a personal perspective, then we begin to question, who am I now? One exercise that I do with all of my clients is basically a simple T-chart.
On today's show, we're going to address what happens when you lose your job and how do you get your mindset back to get on the horse and capture a new career. Our guest today is someone who I have a ton of respect for. He is a brilliant mindset coach, William Deck, the founder of Mind Business. Good morning, William. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Very happy to be here. Very thankful for the opportunity to share.
Let's just start with the very beginning. Why is it so difficult when something like a job leaves our daily routine?
It's part of our identity. A lot of times we identify with externals, meaning everything that we can see with our eyes or touch with our hands. And when some of those things are challenged or they go away or they change, many times because we identify with them from a personal perspective, then we begin to question, who am I now?
And what does that feel like, that moment of who am I now?
I can only speak from personal experience, but it's absolutely terrifying because when you have been in a place where you feel like everything is figured out and then all of a sudden it's not, and that is really where the journey of self-discovery begins.
Is that the first step in recovering?
I would say that would be a wise choice to take because many times we've started careers based on what people outside of us told us that we were good at, based on what we thought would make us a lot of money or other reasons that are relevant. And now they're questioning whether they still want to do this for another 15 to 20 years. And that's a big decision to make.
So before we talk about how do we start looking again, let's use a word that startled me when I heard someone use it in the job loss context, which was the word grieving. The period of you lose the job and you just grieve, you feel miserable for a period of time. How does someone process that? How long does that last? Is it okay not to be okay? I mean, this seems like a big life transition.
It is okay not to be okay. Many times, especially as men, we don't take the time to grieve or to process what's going on, what's happened, and how do we want to move forward in a much better and more holistic way. When you don't take that time to reflect, which is the going within process, many times we're building up a lot of unresolved negative energy, negative feelings, negative emotions. And over time, we get to that breaking point where now the load has gotten way too heavy. And when you were 25, you could maybe squat 300 pounds, but now you're 55 and 200 pounds is way too much.
I don't know about you. I never squatted 300 pounds. But, obviously, working with someone like you will help us process through that period and get ready to move forward. But what can you share with someone that maybe doesn't have a mindset coach in their life or something that they're already relying on to make sure they're in a good frame of mind?
One exercise that I do with all of my clients is basically a simple T-chart. And all it is gives you an opportunity on the top left-hand side to write down as a title, negative ideas about myself. And then on the top right-hand side, you write positive ideas about myself. So when you have an opportunity to begin to write down the negative attributes or ideas in phrase form or in word form, you begin to look at that negative list and you're like, well, where did all this stuff come from? Because many of these ideas were not ideas that we gave ourselves. These are from people that we love, maybe our parents, maybe some close friends when we were a kid. Maybe it was based on a particular situation or circumstances that occurred at a younger age. And it's really important to take some time to go through each one of those negative ideas and simply ask, why do I feel this way about myself? And many times we realize that, as I've alluded to, a lot of these negative ideas or attributes that we ascribe to ourselves come from childhood. Now we're adults and we have adult challenges and opportunities, but we're still relating to life as children in those areas that we can identify those negative attributes.
So how can we get someone ready to follow their passion and not settle for the first thing that comes along?
That leads, very well into step 2, which is asking 3 core questions that I think we all must be able to answer clearly and articulately in order to be able to gain clarity in our lives. The first question is, who am I at the core of my being? And many people have different answers, but in essence, we are formless, infinite energy, right? Which means we come from an infinite place and we have infinite possibilities. Question number 2 is, where am I? You're going to have to really ask, where are you in your life mentally and emotionally? Not just where you live, not just where you plan on going next month or next year for a vacation, but where are you mentally and emotionally? And then the last question is, what am I going to do now? What is my plan? Do I really want to stay within this career? Do I have a passion in other areas that I want to explore? Do I want to take some time to go back to school or get a certification? These are important questions to ask. And all of these questions that you ask yourself, I want to be very clear. It's not easy, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage.
How do you summon the courage to do that?
When it comes to this journey of self-discovery, the reason why it's called self-discovery is ultimately the most important and powerful answers can only come from within you. No matter who's around you that has tremendous wisdom or insight, or that you respect their opinion, they will always give you a piece of the answer. But the deepest, most important, and most truthful answers for your life path can only come through you.
You've had the chance to help people through these types of transformations. Is it worth it?
Absolutely. I'll give a quick example just to give a mental picture. If you were at the bottom of a 10-foot deep mud pit and you had been down there for a long time, which is symbolically being in a negative and fearful and beat down, not worthy state of mind. And then one day someone throws over a rope and you've been down there so long, initially you're nervous to grab the rope, but you muster up the courage and you begin the arduous task of pulling yourself out. So you eventually get to the top and you're, face down for a second because you're so tired and exhausted, but you're happy to be out. When you look up to see who was there to help to pull you out, what you're going to see is a reflection of yourself. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're going to get out of that mud pit mentally and emotionally, you're going to have to do the work. So hopefully that helps from a visual to give a representation of what this process is about and how powerful it is on the other side. And that's what we all need. That's what we all want.
It is. This conversation is exactly what I wanted. Thank you so much for providing your time and expertise today, William. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hey, it's Pat Miller, the Idea Coach, here from the Interview Podcast. If you enjoyed this information and you want to watch more of the podcast or some other helpful videos like resume tips, interview best practices, and more career training info, you can get it on our website. And here's the best part. It's all free. Check out the website at careerdevelopmentsolutions.com/webinars. One more time, that's careerdevelopmentsolutions.com/webinars. See you there.